What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I have the absolute privilege of reviewing this beautiful 2023 Alfa Romeo Stelvio Veloce. As you can see, this is a stunning example of a Alfa Romeo Stelvio, and today, thanks to a great friend of mine, I have the privilege of reviewing this thing and driving it on the road. All right, so taking a little walk around this car, as you can see, it is painted in this beautiful Vulcano black metallic. Let's go up to the front where the sun's shining on it so we can really take a great look at the fleckle in the paint there. As you can see, you can really see it there on the front bumper. The way that this Vulcano black metallic shines is just absolutely stunning. And this car looks amazing. So let's go over some of the exterior features and what you're going to be getting if you buy an Alfa Romeo Stelvio in terms of the packages and all of that great stuff. All right, so if you've seen my review of the 2018 Stelvio, I kind of went over a lot of the things that you get in the basic package and all that with the Stelvio. So today we're going to be focusing on what the 2023 model has in store and what the Veloce badge on the side means in terms of the packages and all that. So starting up front, as you can see, this is an optional color. It is the Vulcano black metallic, like I said, which is a optional extra, so it is a little more expensive. I believe it's a few $100s, but you get that beautiful flaking in the paint, and it does look really stunning. Now, the Veloce is the pretty much top trim for the Stelvio, besides getting a quadrifoglio model. So with the Veloce, you get a blacked out front V Scudetto here, so that is part of the Veloce package. If we move around to the side, obviously you're going to get Veloce badges, and I think there's an option you can get these in black, but pretty much they come standard in that nice chrome finish. And then you get these optional 21-inch telephone dial rims, and I think these are absolutely killer. Alfa Romeo always does a phenomenal job with their rims, and these are no exception. So they have that beautiful telephone dial shape, and as you can see, we also have the red painted calipers with the Alfa Romeo script on there. And these are 255 section tires in the front, 20-inch. Sorry, I had said 21. These are 20-inch tires. If we come over to the back, we have, I believe it is, so it's a square setup. We have 255s again, 20-inch tires. And I think the general side profile of the Stelvio is quite beautiful for an SUV. With the Veloce model, you also get blacked out mirror caps. Now, this is not the same color that is on the car. These are just a kind of gloss black, a straight gloss black. This comes on all Veloce models, as well as the gloss black window trim that follows and the gloss black roof rails. If we come around to the back, you get your Stelvio badge and your Q4 badge, but you also get, with the Veloce, is blacked out tailpipe surrounds, and you get a more aggressive rear diffuser, which I think adds to the overall look of this kind of badass SUV. And if you take a step back, I mean, this thing does look pretty freaking mean on the road. But now let's get on to the interior and kind of the facts and figures of this car and what it's going to be like to drive. All right, opening up the door, the Stelvio does have keyless entry, so you just put your hand on the handle and it pulls right open. And as you can see, I mean, what a lovely interior we have here. The Stelvio is a beautiful vehicle. We have these nice Rosso Alfa seats on the inside to match those brake calipers, and I think Alfa's done a phenomenal job at making this a very quality interior and something that you're going to want to look at and sit inside. So before we hop into the front, I want to show the back just a little bit. As you can see, pretty nice. I mean, you get sumptuous leather everywhere, and the Stelvio has pretty decent space in the back. You can comfortably fit about 4 people, but you would struggle to fit 5 full adults back here. So you do just need to take that in consideration. But Stelvio is mid-sized SUV, and it's about on par for the rest of its segment. All right, so now we're going to hop in the front, and if we shut the door, very solid thud. The difference with the 2023, I think the biggest difference at least between the 2023 and the original 2018 models is the quality upgrade. So let's run over some of the things that have changed for the 2023 model as far as the interior. First things first, when you're looking at the steering wheel here, you're going to notice this is a reworked steering wheel. It's a little bit thicker bolstered. You have nicer metal finishes. The buttons kind of have a nicer surround to them. And it just overall feels a little bit nicer. You get some perforated leather by the thumb grips, which is really nice. I mean, the steering wheel is always a nice thing about these cars, but I definitely think Alfa has upgraded that. One thing that does stay the same are these beautiful column mounted aluminum paddle shifters that are just like surfboard style and absolutely feel amazing to hold in your hand. And then if we come over to the center console here, you can see, if you've seen my Giulia at all or my original Stelvio review video, you'll know that this is a completely different setup here. So we have a brand new shifter here. It feels way nicer than the other one. It's leather wrapped. This whole area is reworked, so there's not as much plastic in here. You have more weighting to the buttons. Everything just feels a little bit higher quality, less kind of just finishes you don't want to see. But also with the Veloce model, you're going to get the aluminum pedals on the bottom there, so that is a nice upgrade as well. And if we start the car, so we just do a little ignition start up here so I can show you guys the brand new screen that Alfa has put in here. So if you have originally watched my other videos with my Giulia or just my original review of the Stelvio, you'll know that everything had to be controlled via this kind of stack in the center here. However, now we do have a nice touchscreen. So we can go in and we can check our climate here. And if we end up going back, we got some performance pages and all sorts of cool things and, you know, everything that you would want in a touchscreen. It's very responsive. It'll show your diagnostics, all sorts of great stuff. And it definitely makes it a little more user-friendly and a little more daily drivable, and keeps it up and brings it back to that level of technology that the Germans would have in their vehicles. You still do maintain physical climate controls, which is a blessing, because having to search for it in these touchscreens, like I did with the Maserati Grecale, is a little bit of frustration. So I'm glad that Alfa has maintained that. And overall, when you're looking at the interior, it is super Another nice thing worth mentioning in this interior, especially on the Veloce model, is these upgraded sport seats. So if you saw my original view, you would have seen that the seats are kind of they're leather in the original Stelvio and the original Giulia. However, they are more basic, not as aggressively bolstered, and the leather quality isn't quite as high end. But in the Veloce models, you do get this super beautiful, sumptuous leather with a sport performance-oriented bucket seat here that holds you into place very nicely, and it's adjustable in many different ways. So it definitely feels more like a sporty driver's car when you're in this thing, and I can definitely appreciate these comfy and amazing seats. All right, so that's enough covering the details and the trim packages and all that on the Stelvio. Let's start it up and go for a drive. Alrighty guys, so we are driving the Stelvio. We're going to be starting off in the normal mode. So there's 3 modes on the Stelvio that you can go into. There is advanced efficiency mode, or your A mode, which is your most economical, kind of your snow or your inclement weather mode. Just dials everything back, gets you the best gas mileage, very comfortable. Then there's your normal mode, which is what we're driving in right now, which mixes daily driving scenarios. Gives you decent throttle response when you want it, but the transmission will kind of shift up and just work away in the background. Nothing too crazy in terms of throttle response or anything like that. And then there is dynamic mode, which will amp everything up, be the sportiest setting, hold gears, all sorts of that good stuff. So we're starting in the normal mode, and as you can see here, auto stop start has just kicked in. So that is a feature that has also carried itself over from the Stelvios of the past and other vehicles, which I'm not too fond of, but yet here we are. That's what are you gonna do? But there's a nice convenient button that Alfa puts right there for you to turn it off. And yeah, so let's get this Alfa on the move and see what she's all about. And guys, I do apologize about the camera angle. I know this isn't a true POV kind of setup right now. My POV hat and my kind of setup have been broken, so kind of just riding this setup where I clip it onto the visor for right now. So bear with me on the angle, but I think you'll still get the gist of the video. Driving around in the normal mode, throttle response is very good. It's quite soft and very luxurious. You can feel the suspension is working away at some of those imperfections on the road. Now, it is still a bit of a stiffer ride than you would get in something like a Mercedes or an Audi comparable to this, but alas, this is supposed to be more of a sporty vehicle, so it kind of makes sense. Now, I didn't discuss earlier what we're working with, but we have a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder under the hood that produces 280 horsepower, and it also produces about 306 pound-feet of torque. So it is kind of best in class in terms of power and torque, which means that this car is rated for a 0 to 60 of about 5.5 seconds and a top speed of right around 150 miles an hour. So pretty impressive, pretty decent performance for what is a mid-sized SUV that costs right around 50 grand. As spec'd, this one I think MSRP'd for $48,000, and my friend was able to pick it up in the low 40s to high 30s range. So not a bad deal at all things considered. But getting back to the driving performance of this car, very smooth, very quiet in here. Now, with the upgraded Veloce and the 2020 Plus models, they have changed a few things in terms of driving dynamics. So they have insulated the glass. It's now dual paned, which means that the cabin is so much more refined and quiet, and that exhaust note is particularly subdued. I noticed in the 2018 that you could still hear a kind of murmur in the background from this 4-cylinder, but that has definitely been dulled in this newer model. And I do think in terms of just raw performance in the normal mode, I'm noticing that it doesn't quite feel as on edge as the 2018 model did. It definitely feels a little more subdued, a little more laid back, and just kind of chilled and relaxed. And I think Alfa Romeo did that on purpose because its market was looking for something that was just a little calmer while still maintaining that same performance. But when you're just cruising, I mean, we're at higher speeds, almost 60 miles an hour. It's very comfortable, very quiet. And yeah, the steering is still razor sharp. And as you can hear there, we have the lane assist there telling me I was going over the lines. And you have all these standard safety features. I mean, you have lane keep assist. It has adaptive cruise control. I mean, this Veloce is truly kitted out with every option, every little technological assistance package that you could ever really want on a vehicle. Definitely more so than the 2018 one I reviewed and my Giulia. And that's all up to you whether or not you want that kind of stuff. In the Veloce, that's kind of what you're paying for, and it definitely delivers. It definitely gives you everything that you would want in a car. So I really cannot complain there. Now, the brakes in the original Stelvio were a little bit of a cause for concern. They took some quite getting used to. However, I'm happy to announce that Alfa Romeo in these 2020 Plus models, and especially in this 23 model, have refined that brake pedal to make it a much more linear, much more modular, and feel way more like a hydraulic braking system than the previous brakes do. In my Giulia, it's the same system, but it's you put your foot on the brake, there's nothing, and then a lot. So it takes a lot to get used to that kind of braking feel. And once you got into them, there was good stopping power. But these have that phenomenal stopping power with the more modular and progressive feel to them, which is a very, very good thing that Alfa has tweaked that and definitely tuned that up. All right, so that is enough of the natural mode. Let's go and flick this thing into dynamic mode and see what she's like. And you can see immediately there, it did downshift a gear and it kind of threw up the revs. And I can tell that the throttle response has sharpened and this thing is primed and ready to go. So let's give it a little bit of, let's slow down just a sec here. And you can see it's kind of giving us some harder downshifts. And let's just give it a little gas. And I mean, that is no slouch at all. It definitely feels like it is leading in horsepower. You can feel that this car wants to go more and more and more. That transmission is so good. Alfa, nobody tunes this ZF 8-speed transmission better than Alfa Romeo does. It's just so snappy with the gears. It's so smooth around town, and yet when you put it in that dynamic mode, it's so willing to just kind of throw up some downshifts, and it really rattles off those shifts well when you're putting your foot down. And then now we have to discuss, I mean, when you're talking about a Stelvio, you have to discuss the handling of this car. I mean, there's not an SUV that handles better than this one does. When you flick it into dynamic mode, I've never seen a car, and this is true with the Giulia as well, change so much by just changing the mode, the driving mode of the vehicle. It's a totally different vehicle when you throw it in a dynamic mode. I mean, the chassis is so phenomenal. I mean, the steering is it's so razor fast and precise. It's so predictable, and the chassis is so neutral. There's no understeer really with this car. Being a big, SUV that'll carry around 5 people and and luggage, it's quite impressive. It is one of the best handling SUVs I've ever driven, and it remains true from the 2018 to this 2023 model. I will stand by that claim all day, every day. I think this is truly one of the best SUVs, if not the best handling SUV that has ever been made. It makes you forget that you're actually driving an SUV. That's how good it is. And it's hard to convey in words across a screen. It's something that you just got to get in and you got to feel this car for yourself. I can't tell you just how good this car is because it just doesn't translate the same way as when you're in control of it. I mean, there's just something about it that excites you. It's not as boring as the German cars is. If you flick it into manual here, I mean, you pull on these surfboard style paddle shifters and it just gives you the fizz, as James May would say. I mean, there's something about it. There's no denying. This car has, more soul and more character than its competitors do. There's not as much excitement out of the exhaust note as there was in the 2018s or as in my muffler delete Giulia, obviously. But, I mean, when you're on it, you still hear a little bit of that 4-cylinder tone, and it is a very, very nice tone. And this cabin does a great job. It does start to pick up a little bit of the wind noise as, the faster you go here, but who cares? This car is about the fun. I mean, just listen to that, the metallic click of the paddle. And it's just so willing to do, whatever it is you want it to do. I mean, you throw it around the corner. I mean, this is a great car. Anybody that gets in this car and doesn't smile while driving it has no soul, because this is just a fun little vehicle to cruise around in. It's one of the best daily driving options I can think of at this point in time. I mean, it's comfortable when you want it to be flicked back into auto. Transmission does everything you want it to do. Let's put it back into normal mode. It quiets up. It cruises well. It's super comfy. I mean, these seats are holding me in super nicely. And yet, it can do everything we just saw it do with a chassis that feels this good, that's this tight and this rigid. Yes, it's a little bit on the firmer side. And, yes, maybe it's not quite as polished as some of its German competitors in terms of little fit and finish details. But, I mean, come on. The quality out of this car is absolutely amazing. This owner has owned this car for, just a few months now. However, he owned that 2018 Stelvio that I reviewed for, years and put over 50,000 miles on it and had no issues with the car whatsoever. These cars are increasing in reliability as they go on, and I think everybody gives Alfa a really bad rap when they don't really quite deserve to have that. These are good cars, and they're fast and they're fun, and I mean, they look good, and this interior is unique, and it's a place you want to spend time, and it's a car that is about the journey, not as much as the destination. An Audi, a BMW, a Mercedes, they're fantastic vehicles and they can keep up with this car, but they don't evict the same kind of emotion. There's something about this car that's just special. You know, the fast steering, the edgy handling, the way that it makes you forget that it's a 4-door, 5-seater SUV. You know, there's something to be said about that. And I mean, this car is powerful. I mean, even in normal mode, if I, you know, I'm cruising and I just plant my foot, the downshifts from this transmission. And I mean, the power, it's so willing to rev, and it's so soulful for a 4-cylinder engine. I mean, most people, when they hear it, when they see it, they don't think that this is a 4-cylinder car. And, you know, they don't think that this is just some 2-liter, you know, a daily driving SUV. They think this is a real performance machine. And I mean, when you look at this car, it's stunning. There's no denying the fact that this is one of the best looking SUVs that has ever been made. So, I mean, for 50 grand, getting a Veloce, you know, getting all the bells and whistles while you're getting the, you know, same performance in that same engine without spending, you know, the 80, 90K to break the bank with the Quadrifoglio, I think this is what you want to do. I mean, my hands are enveloping this amazing steering wheel. I'm just in a comfortable spot and I'm enjoying myself. And that's what Alfa Romeo is all about. People tend to forget that a car is more than just something that takes you to point A to point B. You know, cars these days have gotten so soft and so numb and so insulated from the road that you almost forget that you're driving. And, you know, everybody wants a car that drives itself. But this is the kind of car that you pilot, you drive, and it makes you proud to drive it and to own it. So that's gonna wrap up my review. I know it kind of might have been all over the place with this review because I have reviewed a Stelvio before, so just wanted to give you a little more seat time behind the wheel of a Stelvio, and you know, kind of go over some of the details with what a 2023 facelift entails. So if you guys did enjoy this video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I always am you know, putting out new videos for you guys, especially Alfa Romeo content, as I own a Giulia myself. So please be sure, guys, if you did like this video, to let me know in the comments and let me know what else you guys want to see. And that's gonna be it for the video. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.